All right, Ryan, the numbers speak for itself. I was very impressed, shocked, and surprised. But hey, and again, not really, because they're diehard UConn fans. We love covering the team, and we all know that you love the discussions that we have, Ryan. But they came through, and the numbers speak for itself. They came through very well in that last video. We're gonna have fun today going over the comments section, and I'm sure, I think it's well over 50 comments. I think you're gonna have fun today on this one.
Yeah, but unfortunately, the news we got yesterday is not too much fun for everybody, especially the
No.
team. Ice Brady out for the 2022 to 23 season with a dislocated patella in her right knee. So it's very unfortunate news because I mean for this whole off season we've had a couple of videos honestly about Ice Brady, and we're also excited to see her out on the court. And
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately now she's out for the whole year. So especially with Ayanna Patterson too, and both these freshmen coming in, we talked about, especially over these past couple weeks and with the last two videos we posted,
Mm-hmm.
we were expecting to see them, get a lot of minutes and a lot of impactful minutes on the court. But unfortunately now that won't happen for Ice Brady. So rest of the team is going to have to step up even more now with two players now out for the season for UConn.
Yeah, as everyone knows, you and I were very high on Ice Brady. You sent this news to me yesterday. Now we wanted to cover it yesterday, but just couldn't get to it. Ryan, what I take out of this news is, of course, you never want to see injuries, but if it's anything good to take out of it, I would say that it's again, no injury is good, and it's especially a season-ending injury. That's already Paige Beckers. Oh, I'm not supposed to say her name. I'm sorry. And then Ice Brady, both season-ending injuries, right? And this seems like I understand you go through ups and downs with injuries, but it seems like the UConn Huskies nowadays, Ryan, and I'll let you talk on my behalf of this. They can't catch a break as far as maybe an injury that lasts 3 to 4 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks or maybe a couple months. It has to always seems like it always has to be nowadays season ending.
Yeah, I mean, especially with these last two. I mean, we already had Paige Beckers and now Ice Brady. So it is really unfortunate, especially before the season even starts, and we have two players out already for the entire season. So it's going to be really interesting to see how this injury with Ice Brady affects the team even more now, and how Gino spreads out the minutes. But so I have a Gino quote here. I guess he was interviewed about the injury the other day. He said, quote, "Anytime a player has an injury, it's so heartbreaking because they put so much time and effort into being the best player they can be. Ice
Mm,
has made so much progress since she's been here, and I'm really confident that when she does come back, she's going to be better and more impactful than she already has been." So that's what we've been kind of been talking about, that she's been so impactful already, practicing hard. All these girls have been practicing so hard, and of course she gets injured in practice and out for the year. But hopefully when she comes back, and when Paige Beckers comes back, they'll hopefully be able to make a more of an impact than what they already have. But unfortunately, we won't be able to see the progress that Ice Brady has made from high school moving up to the college level. And unfortunately not this year, but hopefully next year she's able to come back. But as for this year, I'm not really sure how this injury is going to affect the team. It's going to be really interesting to see on November 6th, I believe, with that exhibition game, what the starting lineup is, how the minutes are going to be spread out. But it's just terrible news.
rotating players in and out. You're exactly right. That's something to watch for. But what I was telling you is, if anything good to take out of this, I know this probably nobody wants to hear this. But as far as, because she's out for the season, I understand it's heartbreaking. But if there's anything good to take out of it, Ryan, this happens during her freshman season. All right, freshman season. I would not. I don't know about you. I would not want to be the head coach of this team and have a star player like this. I mean, especially coming out of high school. We had several videos on her. I would not want to deal with something like this with one of my top prospects out of high school. I would not want to deal with something like this. Say when it comes time to her senior year, and you're contending, because you always know the Huskies will be in it, right? They will be in the big dance. At least hopefully, while we're covering this team for years and years to come. I just think that it's safe to say, again, I hate to see it happen, but I'd rather it happen now than her junior or senior year, when, hey, she could maybe be the star of the team. Only time will tell. And then all of a sudden you're like, oh my God, what do I do now? So because it's just a little bit different. It's just a little bit different, but I understand at the same time it is bad, because I was watching an interview last night on NBA Talk and Sports Talk. This gentleman was saying about how it was about an NBA team, but I related it back to what we talk about. And he said that he not only likes to see the veteran star players on the team break out, the juniors, seniors in this case, but he also loves to see what the younger rookie players bring to the team. He said it's almost like trouble to him if these high class rookies come in and they don't produce, they don't do anything. So that's the heartbreaker right there, because you don't really know. First of all, you don't know how she's going to react in college games. Now you don't know how she's going to react coming back. On top of that, coming back from the injury.
Yeah, and especially because I think not really any other team knows, especially a rookie, how as good as what the team that brought her in knows her well. And I think because there's not really much scouting that goes on. Of course, with the top prospects that UConn gets on, I'm sure there's a lot of scouting, but nobody really knows what to expect out of these rookie players, and that's why it's such a surprise when they come on the court and during their freshman seasons and sophomore seasons, they have such good years, and they make such a good impact. And hopefully, we get to see that out of Ayana this year, and maybe Ines too. And I saw a comment earlier. I think it was on the other video about her switching over to college, and that's going to be interesting as well with her coming from another country. But hopefully, with the two freshmen that we do have, we get to see a lot of impact and their levels keep going up and up. But for Ice, hopefully she gets healthy again, and hopefully this is the last time we have to talk about any injuries on this channel, and hopefully season-ending injuries. But it's going to be probably anything short of a miracle, because like I mentioned, this is even before the season starts. We still have to get through the whole entire season, so we're hoping obviously for no more injuries, but to have
None. Yeah.
two players out before the season.
Yeah, because you're right. It could, even if it's not season ending, can you imagine, don't imagine it. I'm telling you now, don't imagine it. But I mean, I mean, not even to name any other girl on this roster, but I'm like, man, even if it's a 2 to 3 week injury that holds them out, we can't afford any more injuries, period. So you're right about that. If you look at Ice Brady, though, her stats coming out of high school in 18-19 during her freshman season, she had 16 and a half points per game. Then it bumped up to 19.9 her sophomore season. She kind of declined her junior season. She went down to about 16 points a game. But then if you look 21 to 22, her senior year coming out of high school, she averaged about 20 points a game. So yeah, it's heartbreaking, because again, that was her highest total um out of all 4 years in high school, right? So you just have to believe that she would have caught fire if it wouldn't have been for this injury. We wish her the best, and we wish her luck, Ryan, a speedy recovery, and she is in our prayers. And we'll move on to comments when you're ready.
Yeah, and hopefully just one more thing about Ice Brady, hopefully,
Mhm.
because we've been talking about how much depth that this team has and size down low, because really UConn hasn't had as much as we're used to for these past couple seasons. And now they obviously lose a little bit with losing Ice Brady. So hopefully Ayana and Dorka and Aaliyah can kind of fill that gap. And Lou Lopez might have to. I think Lou Lopez is going to be a really, really impactful player. I know a lot of people are excited, but I think it's going to be interesting to see her maybe play at the guard position and then also at the forward position as well. She might play the 1-2 some nights and play the 3-4 other nights to try to fill the void of losing Ice Brady.
All right, here we go. This is going to take a little while, which is fine because this is going to get fun. They really came through very well, Ryan. I'm just trying to I'm
You gotta
trying to
sort
see.
through them all, trying to.
Oh man. Oh man. This is something else. You're going to have fun. Bond Riley goes, I'd like to clarify one thing. There is not women's college and maybe pro that would not be 6 times better with a healthy Paige Beckers, especially UConn. But all you heard in the Big East Media Day interviews was, how are you going to replace Beckers? Well, you can't. I keep bringing it up. I would think the other 11 are somewhat tired of hearing it. Top 5 is a conservative estimate. I've been a UConn fan since before the first championship. So here's a question. Who is your all-time UConn starting lineup? Mine is Rebecca Lobo, Rebecca Loeb, Maya Moore, Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, Paige Beckers. Yeah, it's kind of weird because how about the episode coming up? We're not going to tell them now, but we discussed an episode coming up for Halloween.
Yeah, little sneak peek maybe
Yeah.
for a Halloween episode talking about all-time players. But I mean, I would agree with that with Paige Becker. You can't replace a player like Paige Beckers. And unfortunately, talking about that's all what all the questions were during the off season. Like I said before, unfortunately, that was the biggest story and headline of the off season was losing Paige Beckers. And of course, now you pair that with losing Ice Brady as well. So unfortunately, it's terrible news and we hate talking about it. But unfortunately for UConn this all season, that's been the biggest story. And now we have two injuries that have been the biggest stories of the offseason. So it's really, really unfortunate. And of course, they're both out for the season and season injuries. But hopefully UConn will be able to put it together here and move on from the news. And it's so hard to do. But hopefully they can, regroup here before the first exhibition game and kind of get it together. I think that'll be a good game to kind of get everything together, see where they are before the regular season starts.
And how many games do you win in, huh? I like that lineup a lot. She goes, or he, I'm sorry, whichever, I'm not too sure. Bond Riley. So Bond Riley goes, mine is Rebecca Lobo, Maya Moore, Diana Taurasi, Brianna Stewart, Paige Beckers. Oh boy, people were licking their chops at that one.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many players that you could put in the all-time starting lineup and all-time top five because there's been so many obviously good teams, national championship, perfect teams throughout UConn's history. So it's gonna be. I can't wait for that video we possibly might do for Halloween. That should be pretty fun.
That's a better dynasty lineup right there than what Tom Brady has accomplished all along,
It probably
huh?
is.
Hey, moving on to let's see. I guess we will go. There was one up here where I saw that caught my eye, Ryan. I want to add that it's great that you two do this podcast. Please don't beat yourselves up for taking it off a month. You deserve it. I know you must feel criticized for not getting everything perfect, but the truth is that you are a strong source of great UConn women's basketball conversations and debates. I, for one, enjoy all your speculations and topics so much because it shortens the off season, which is pure torture. Thanks for all you give. And that was from Alan Lee. Wow.
Yeah, we appreciate that. Thank you for that comment. And speaking of making mistakes, I think I did it again last episode saying that Aubrey Griffin was not the one getting the back surgery, even though Aubrey Griffin did have the back surgery. Amari DeBerry was out. She was also injured, but she did not have back surgery. So I apologize for that again. I'll try to get that right before the season starts. But those are another two players that we haven't talked about, Amari DeBerry and Aubrey Griffin, and now with Ice Brady out, those are probably two really, really big players that are going to make an impact. Obviously, we didn't see them a whole lot last season. I believe Amari DeBerry did play in the last couple games of the Final Four and Elite Eight, I think, or Final Four national championship. But yeah, I mean, hopefully, that's the whole reason we started this podcast is to talk more about women's basketball. It definitely doesn't get the spotlight enough. Women's sports in general doesn't get enough spotlight. So hopefully with this podcast, we try to put the spotlight and talk about women's college basketball and women's sports. And hopefully during the off season, this upcoming off season, we try to talk about more women's sports in general. So it should be fun for the future.
How about that? Well, I had to read Alan Lee's first comment again because it follows up the second one I just read. Phil, I do like your lineup. The problem is, I see that I don't know what kind of D Lou plays yet. And I told you, Ryan, that's a good observation. Lou Lopez, we don't know what kind of defense she brings to the table yet. That said, I don't see Gino putting a starting five on the floor without Nika. She's the motor and catalyst for this team, in my opinion. So I think selection is what we'll see roll out in the Kutztown girl. The starting five isn't really the most important thing aside from setting the tone defensively. Gino's already stated that this team can shoot. He always complained about last year's team not being able to hit open shots. Defense will make the difference.
Yeah, and it is not the most important thing, but we do love talking about it and debating it. But I do believe that my lineup will probably be what we do see, but it'll definitely get changed throughout the whole entire season. And I wouldn't be surprised at all if we do see Lou Lopez, maybe even Ayanna Patterson in there at some point, Amari DeBerry, Aubrey Griffin. There's just so many players you can put in, but I definitely do think Nika Mule, just because of her defense, the excitement, the tenacity that she brings to this team, the energy. UConn definitely needs that on defense, because last season we saw it almost the whole entire season, and almost every game was, they won a lot of those games because of their defense. So hopefully this season, like Gino said, they make more open shots, and they are able to rebound and make, score off of their turnovers is going to be the biggest thing. But hopefully they can score a little bit better, and also bring that same defensive intensity.
There he is. There's our brother Jason D'Amico, and we remember that name. He's back. Gents, welcome back. Missed you. First, Phil, curb those high expectations, brother. It's going to be a wild season. Buckle up. Next, the starting lineups are irrelevant. Gino is going to play whoever is performing well at that time during the game. We know this, and therefore all this talk about starting lineups is not necessary. Although fun to talk about, we know they have fun. Last, I can feel your excitement, fellas. Glad you are back, and thanks for your efforts. Peace.
Yeah, I would definitely agree with that, because Gino's talked a lot about that before. If you're not practicing hard or not understanding the system, and especially not being able to pass in this highly sophisticated offense that Gino runs, he's probably not going to give you that many minutes. So whatever player is playing hard in practice and looks good in practice, looks good during the games, and is able to capitalize with the minutes that they're able to get, they're probably going to see more minutes on the court and have more of an impact for this team. So I would agree with that 100%. And unfortunately, with Ice Brady, I think she was one of the ones that was practicing really good. But Gino's been saying the team's practicing really, really good and likes what he sees. So hopefully everybody's able to make the same impact. And I'm sure now with these two injuries that everybody's going to get probably an equal opportunity to be able to have some sort of an impact this season for this team.
Oh man, how about Telly Lott, Ryan? A short comment. Telly Lott says the thumbnail is the best starting five, period.
Well, I try to do my best on those thumbnails. I know I probably come a long way. We had some discussions in the
Yeah.
past about the thumbnails before. I try my best to bring a little bit of a sneak peek with those thumbnails and a little bit of excitement before you click on the video.
How about Gary Roundtree? This is interesting. Being real, I see an ACL problem. Brady now from San Diego, California, and Paige. We're not talking about Tom Brady now. Ice Brady from California, and Paige Beckers with the same problem, ACL. I don't know what's going on with the UConn girls. It's sad and crazy. Before the season starts, the team must be strong and healthy.
Yeah, and that's definitely easier said than done. And we went over all these coaches and the assistant coaches as well. And hopefully we didn't go that deep into the training staff and the people that make sure the Huskies are, training right and getting their workouts in. But hopefully the coaches, I'm sure they're doing their job, but you just have to wonder a little bit now with these two injuries before the season even starts if the coaches are doing their jobs and making sure that these players are ready to go, all stretched out and all that good stuff before they practice. So I think I saw a comment about that discussing whether the coaches are actually doing their jobs, and I'm sure they are. And just injuries are something that you can't really get ready for injuries, that they just happen so quickly, and your season's done just like that.
How about Drew Eaton? Drew Eaton goes, hats need a serious breaking in. But tell him how we rock hats up here, Ryan. We don't break hats in too well up here in Maryland.
No, I mean, I'm not really a hat person to begin with, but I think it looks pretty good for the podcast. But yeah, it definitely we tried them out last season. We're probably gonna bring them back for this season as well. But yeah, we probably we're definitely not hat people up here. I'm for sure not.
How about incentivized crypto rewards? What a username. Don't feel bad talking about Paige from time to time. I like this comment a lot because this backs up the argument I had the other day with you. Without her, we would not have beaten UCF and for sure would not have beaten Indiana. Ha ha ha.
Yeah, and not beating NC State either in that double overtime game. So, I mean, just like the comment said before, replacing Paige Beckers is impossible. It's just not possible to replace a player like that. So, it's just going to be interesting to see. And I'm sure for Ice Brady and Paige Beckers, they're going to come back next year. Hopefully, we were hoping Paige Beckers comes back this season, and then of course we get the news that she's out for this whole season now. But I'm sure both of those players are going to come back healthy. But it's just so unfortunate because it takes a lot to try to replace a player like that, and of course you can't replace them. But I'm sure all the girls on these teams that they're on this team that is now healthy, is going to try to do their best and give it all to win these games. It's going to take a team effort.
How about one more? As this they did so well coming through. You just hate to close. You wish we could get every comment, but you just hate to close the window out. I know we have to, Ryan. We promised we would try to get to everyone's comments, no matter how long it takes. With again, we got a whole season coming up in front of us, Ryan. So a lot of videos to come. How about Gen X reacts? Gino said Lou and Caroline on the floor are fun to watch. Gino is upbeat about this team for now.
Yeah, as he should be. And I think everybody is, because the narrative for these past couple weeks is Gino's saying the team's practicing really hard. Everybody looks pretty good. So I'm really excited. I think a lot of people are excited for that exhibition preseason matchup versus Kutztown, even though it doesn't really matter in the wins and loss column. But it is going to be really, really, really fun to watch everybody on the court again, get their minutes in and see how the team looks. I expect them to play pretty good in that preseason matchup, even though it doesn't matter. But I'm sure everybody's going to go hard in that preseason game to try to prepare for their first game, their regular season game on the 12th, I believe it is.
How about this? BL Knicks. I think this will be the first five, but I'll be curious if Lou and Patterson or Brady don't break that starting five soon. Well, unfortunately, Ryan, you can take Brady off of that comment now.
Yeah, and I kind of expected her to be one of the ones, along with Ayana, speaking of freshmen, to be in that starting lineup, because with their size, you can't teach size. So, and like I said, that's something that UConn's been struggling with for the past 5 seasons. It seemed like, and down below in the paint, not having enough size, and of course we lose a little bit, but I think the UConn is going to be okay. It's going to take a while, or at least a little bit of time, to try to get through these injuries. But I think once they get going in the regular season, get their groove going, I think they're going to be okay.
And let's face it, I mean, I'm not taking anything away from Gino, great head coach, but he's had some legendary players that have went on and played in the WNBA. With that said, sometimes it is a lot about the players that make a head coach look fantastic, right? But at the same time, I think it's being overlooked. Let's give a lot of credit to Gino because the further that this team goes this season, and the further they make it a deep run into March Madness, which I'm expecting them in the big dance. Let's just go ahead and give him credit where it's due because I think a lot of credit. I think it just makes him again. He doesn't have anything else to prove, but he's been faced with, and he's even admitted it. He's been faced with a lot of challenges that he has never been through throughout his whole coaching career. So this is no matter how great you are, especially specifically as a head coach, man, this is really challenging. This is really challenging. So again, the further they make it, the more games that they do not lose. I think that's a lot of credit on Gino and the whole coaching staff because using your brains, right? Using your brains, taking the time out when nobody's watching you to figure out on paper, pen and paper, how long is she going to play? Do I take her out? Do I put her in? It's going to be interesting. But again, I don't think anybody is better in the business. And I think UConn is really set up nicely just because with the situation they're in, just because of who they have at head coach.
Yeah, I don't think there's anybody you'd rather have than Gino behind that clipboard and sitting on your side when it comes to game awareness and how many, what minutes the players are gonna get. And he's definitely the best at doing all that stuff over his years of experience, 40 plus years of experience now. But yeah, I mean, like I said, it's gonna be interesting to see what happens for that first game. And I would definitely agree with that. I think Gino is going to have, of course, everybody ready. I'm sure they're still going to practice as hard as ever to get ready for this game. So I know we can't wait. I know everybody else can't wait.
Yeah, that's the old quote we use, huh? We can't wait, and we know that everybody else can't wait. Ryan, maybe Saturday, bud, because I know we have a surprise Halloween edition coming out of episodes. So we can't wait to go on the pod and bring that video out for everybody. Big Halloween surprise, Ryan. But for now, it's an injury talk on this Thursday. Something I did not figure that we would be talking about anymore as far as season-ending injuries, but we are. So let's see how this team reacts moving forward. Just another challenge in the way. And Dorka Juhas and company, I'm sure that they're hungry to prove everybody wrong. Just 9 days, 16 minutes, 33 seconds and counting against that first game against Kutztown. Phil and Ryan, listen up.